Alright, Huey, let's see who's really behind the mask. Nah, that can't be right.
Kept you waiting, huh?
That's definitely wrong. Nope. Nope. Hey. What? Okay, that's it. I've had enough. I'm gonna have to call in one of the big boys. Hello? 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 Yeah, boss. It's me. Adam, we got a problem. Yep. Exactly. I tried pulling the mask off. You think I should roll the intro screen and do a theory? Okay. The Fierce Deity, a legendary being with nearly untamable power. That is, until it was sealed away in a mask. But was there a person sealed away to begin with? Hey thinkers, it's me, Thinkafurr, with, you guessed it, another wild tangential tale. And joining me today to keep me from going too far off that tangential tide of thoughts is Hyrule Gamer.
Hey folks, how's it going? It's the one and only Mr. Hyrule Gamer here, and happy to be here, might I add.
Thanks so much for joining, Hyrule Gamer, and I'll try to keep this thought process down to just one line of logic. Hopefully, maybe, potentially. Anyway, so in another video I worked on with my good friend Kotlol, we talked about Majora's Mask and how the Twilight, or more aptly, the Interlopers, created Majora's Mask in a vain attempt to surpass the gods. But somewhere along the lines, we also lightly touched upon the other dark experiments like the Fierce Deity. Link's in the top right corner if you want to watch that video. Anyway, this led me to consider the age-old question. Just who is the Fierce Deity? There's heaps of theories out there, but forever has its identity been hidden behind a veil, or should I say shrouded in mystery, if you will. This, thinkers, is what we aim to answer today. Hyrule Gamer, do you want to do the honors?
Sure. It's time for sleep, because it's 3 AM in the morning. Wait, no. It's time for a thought process.
From what we've come to know and experience as Majora's Mask, the Fierce Deity was a legendary swordsman with godly powers whose soul was trapped in a mask. Collectively, we spend the majority of the time in Majora's Mask collecting other masks of power before at the end of the game finally being able to use it. And though clearly this being lived for many years prior to being trapped within a mask, for us, the players, the Fierce Deity Mask story begins with the story of Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask, as theorized previously, was the emulation of Hylia's powers, which includes being able to choose and/or summon the chosen hero. Previously in that same video, it was mentioned that Majora's Mask was created by the Interlopers in an attempt to create their own version of the goddess Hylia's powers, but in a more darker and perverse nature that suited the evil purposes of the Interlopers. Once again, link in the top right corner to that video. Now, as we all hopefully know by now, and have explained from this video, and I do say hopefully because the production of this video began after that one, but anyway, I digress, as we should know by now, the Interlopers failed. They wanted their own dark, evil counter to the goddess Hylia by trapping the spirit of their own dimension's princess, the original Twilight princess, Majora, within a mask. And if you're still following, we also stated she was the alternate version of the mortal incarnation of Hylia. Why this experiment failed was pretty easy to explain. In short, it was far too powerful for them to control or use. The soul and/or powers of the Twilight Princess, coupled with what we speculate was a piece of Vati's soul, both collectively within the mosque, was too much power for the interloper cult to contain as a weapon. Post-creation in their dark experiments, of course. Now, almost certainly it was a failure, at least only in achieving its intended purpose as a weapon. But what the interlopers had achieved as far as emulating the goddess Hylia's powers, well, what if I told you it was a complete success?
Majora. The first Twilight Princess had been tragically sealed within the mask. Her alternate goddess powers, thankfully, could not be used fully or completely by the interlopers, but we know for a fact they used this particular mask for hexing rituals of all kinds prior to hiding it away. Hexing rituals sound a lot more like dark, evil experiments. After all, why would the interlopers perform these rituals anyway? I'll tell you why. Because, as stated earlier, the interlopers were well and truly successful in capturing the Twilight Realms, or alternate dimensional versions of Hylia's powers. And what can Hylia do? What is one of the core powers known to us all but often brushed past? Hylia's power to reincarnate herself, and also call forth her chosen hero, summoning forth its spirit and allowing him to incarnate within the mortal realm once more, and as many times as she wishes. The interlopers and the hexing rituals was really an experiment with members of their tribe in an attempt to create their own, darker, wrathful version of the chosen hero, the Fierce Deity.
But choice, as we've seen, can be subjective to the options presented to you at the given time, and the scope of your perception's interpretation of those options. Just as choice can be subjective to interpretations, so too can the interpretations of a chosen hero be subjective to interpretation as well. Arguably, the interlopers had created a chosen hero that, in the grand scheme of things, ultimately was a perversion of the gods and the embodiment of darkness, the antithesis of its other-dimensional counterpart. The interlopers' obsession with creating their own dark-type counter-weapons to the gods knew no bounds. First was Majora's Mask, the dark counter-weapon to the goddess Hylia. Then, the Fused Shadow, a four-pronged assault used to counter the Four-Sword. And lastly, but not least, the Fierce Deity, the champion of darkness who would stand equally against the champion of light, the chosen hero. Their dark methods are left to what we can only speculate upon, but perhaps it went something like this. They, the interlopers, had birthed their own dark champion by torturing the soul of Majora, confusing what was right and wrong, perverting its very understanding, even going as far as to insert a piece of Vati within it to trick Majora, the alternate universe's mortal Hylia, into summoning forth the alternate spirit of the hero, the anti-hero. And by the very design of the interlopers' torturesome methods, this anti-hero would embody the wrath of Majora, seeking vengeance for her pain unknowingly. All the interlopers would need to do was lie and manipulate it, right? Well, for a time that might have worked, but inevitably, Majora would clue her Dark Knight in on who its true foe really was. The true source for its wrath, the interlopers. This, thinkers, is why the Fierce Deity was trapped within a mosque. It was too powerful, and in a last-ditch effort, they stripped the Fierce Deity of its anti-hero essence, its powers, sealing it away within the Fierce Deity Mask and the physical form of the interloper who had originally volunteered for the experiment would revert back into their original body, with the anti-hero spirit returning once more to Majora. This is why in Majora's Mask, Majora herself offers Link the Fierce Deity Mask at the end of the game. But the more important point here to think on is the question: just who was it that volunteered as the unwilling participant of the anti-hero experiment? Well, this is where things become extremely bizarre. Who in the world would be courageous enough to volunteer for an experiment like this? Anyone? No one? No one at all, you say. What about you, Hyrule Gamer?
Well, I wouldn't personally volunteer for some dark magic science experiment involving the use of a tortured god's powers without knowing what would happen. But maybe the chosen hero would. He is pretty courageous, after all. Courage is a theme of which every single chosen hero has. Courage is defined as the ability to do something that frightens oneself. It's not the absence of fear, but the acceptance of fear, whilst pushing forward in self-belief. This is the distinction between the choice of an ally for Hylia and why it would select courage over power. Mind you, Hylia's candidate has always been a Hylian, and who else would be the perfect candidate for such a choice in a dark, alternate, universal world like Termina for the champion of darkness than, you guessed it, the Happy Mask Salesman.
But wait, hold on! People often theorize him to be a Sheikah. We probably need to cement him as a Hylian before making such a flagrant accusation like that, don't you think?
Well, yeah. I guess. I suppose it's going to take a lot of effort to pull this off, isn't it?
Well, actually, it's not quite as difficult to justify the Happy Mask Salesman as you might think. So get ready, thinkers, because it's time for a long, windy thought process. Oh wait, we already did that one. Scene transition.
So to prove, or perhaps more aptly worded, to cement the Happy Mask Salesman as a Hylian and not a Sheikah, let's firstly look at his features. He has red hair, very pointed ears, pale skin, and dark greyish eyes. He wears purple robes and is associated with masks, often carrying them, wearing them, or selling them. We know for a fact that the Sheikah have grey or white hair, red eyes, and pale skin, excluding the ears, as both Sheikah and Hylians both have those. Straight away, we can determine that he does not have most of the traits that make up a Sheikah. Furthermore, he doesn't even wear the Sheikah insignia anywhere. Yes, his robes are purple, but the Sheikah clad themselves within that colour to honour the royal family, as purple was the royal family's colour, and who else does the colour purple represent? The goddess Hylia. Another tangential fact, though highly related, is the fact that Majora's mask is also purple and has Triforce markings above the eyebrows. But anyway, if you're still not satisfied with the Happy Mask Salesman being Hylian just yet, let's look at the Zelda timelines.
In the Downfall timeline, in the events of A Link Between Worlds, we find out there is an alternate universe known as Lorule, with its own Triforce that faces upside down. Furthermore, Lorule also has its own alternate princess, a darker version known as Hilda. Hilda is a confirmed alternate version of Zelda. And if you followed these videos up to now, you'll know that we mentioned Hilda was the Downfall timeline's Twilight Princess. Now, we know the Triforce was destroyed and the world was corrupted into darkness. So basically, this is a timeline in which the interlopers won. So you might be thinking, so they won, so what? Link from Hyrule travels to Lorule and fixes everything, correct? Yes, well, that's true, but he wasn't the chosen hero of the Lorulean world. Link was Hyrule's chosen hero, which means Lorule has its own chosen hero. Ravio. Ravio is meek and very strange in personality, neurotic almost. clad in purple garbs and carrying a sack on his back. That rhymes. He wears a hooded mask, the bunny hood, with its eyes designed similarly in line with the interlopers. But more importantly, comparing the Downfall timeline's alternate chosen hero, Ravio, to the Child timeline's theorized equivalent chosen hero of the alternate universe, the Happy Mask Salesman, look at the similarities.
Purple robes, red hair, dark greyish eyes, they look so incredibly similar. He even has a giant bag carried on his back, just like the Happy Mask Salesman. What's more, they both are associated with masks and also have Majora's mask in their possession, because they were both the same characters, split across timelines, and both partook in the ways of the interlopers and their masks. The Downfall timeline's chosen alternate hero, and the Child timeline's chosen alternate hero. Crazy, right?
Well, maybe not. Why is it that we see the avatar of choice within Majora to be the body of the Happy Mask Salesman when we enter the moon? Well, as it stands, the same can also be said for the fallen deities, a strange detail. But what's more strange is that one of the Happy Mask Salesman's bodies is the one that not only speaks to you, but is specifically the one whom presents to you the Fierce Deity Mask. Why this one specifically? I'll tell you why. Because the Happy Mask Salesman was the closest person to Majora's heart. He was her chosen anti-hero, her protector, and as he was once fierce, Majora respected the Happy Mask Salesman, but also knew of what he once was. A fearsome, godly warrior who was to be her avatar of vengeance upon the interlopers for what they had caused. This is why Link, the hero of time, was given the mask, and why Majora calls Link the bad guy if he wears it. In a manner of speaking, it was the anti-hero's spirit and powers superimposed over the body of the hero, and together they would free Majora from the remnants of Vati's corruption, allowing the original Twilight Princess, Majora, to be rid of his torturesome influence and allow Majora to finally have closure after so many years of torture from the experiments that led to her sealing within the Mask of Majora.
But wait, why couldn't the Happy Mask Salesman do it?
Because he had been away for too long from the Fierce Deity Mask, so much so that he had become accustomed to being his own self. And furthermore, he was too afraid to confront Majora and become his true self again. Instead, perhaps he carried a memory of his care and a sense of duty towards Majora during his time as the Fierce Deity, that he just wanted to help Majora be free again. This explains so much about why the Happy Mask Salesman collects masks, travels between worlds, and also why he has the Song of Healing, a song that extracts souls and changes them into masks. Also, there is one final point to make. Perhaps this ties into a very old video I made, but perhaps, and I do say perhaps, this could potentially be why he was the candidate for the fourth missing piece of the Triforce. The Triforce piece of time. Only this was from Hyrule, a world where Hylia remained and was not corrupted. Desperate to help Majora, his princess, be freed, he would have needed some sort of power over time. The Happy Mask Salesman's gotta be the perfect candidate for that piece we never saw, and why there's a fourth triangle on the Hylian shield in Ocarina of Time. In order to save his god, the Happy Mask Salesman sought the powers of a god. But it wasn't enough because he was too meek and afraid. He would need Link's courage, as in his Triforce piece. Anyway, that's a tangent for another time. Link in the top right corner for that theory where I talked about the Happy Mask Salesman and the Tetraforce.
Also, there is one final question I want to ask, but what happened to the chosen alternate hero in the adult timeline? You know, where Wind Waker, Spirit Tracks, and all the other adult timeline games take place.
Well, thinkers, that's one thought process we'll have to save for another time. Hyrule Gamer, thanks so much for joining me in this dark and insanely epic collab. Oh hey, and thinkers, please don't forget to let us both know what you think in the comments below.
Hey folks, it was a pleasure to join your boy Thinkafurr on this video, and thank you all for having me and putting up with my voice. Be sure to check out the other video we did over on my channel where we look at a theoretical what-if situation on could the Sheikah have overthrown the royal family prior to Breath of the Wild. It's an interesting one that you won't want to miss. A link will be in the top right corner for that one.
Thinkers, if you liked the video, then please don't forget to click like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more theories. Also, don't forget to check out Hyrule Gamer's amazing channel full of all kinds of awesome Zelda theories and all kinds of other content. And subscribe to his channel too.
Thanks so much again for having me in the video, Thinkafurr. And viewers, don't forget to check out the other half of the collab afterwards. You won't want to miss it.
If you want to support the channel's content and want to wear that support proudly, then have a peek at these shirts we have for sale. These shirts are all custom designed and made with love by my partner and channel artist Elfspring Art. If you want one, all you need to do is follow the links to my online store over on teespring.com to get one. Lastly but not least, be sure to check out my channel artist's work on Instagram and give them a follow and show some love. Love ya, Elfie! Thanks so much for watching, thinkers. All of you are fabulous, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!
Bye!